right, well, I might start then. So welcome everybody to the Dementia Knowledge Network for March 2023. I'd like to just start with an acknowledgement of country. So our meeting today is being held on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners on the lands of which we meet. I would also like to acknowledge my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And today our guest speaker is Natalie Ives. And we have a different format, as I was alluding to earlier. So Natalie and I have actually pre-recorded a bit of a Q&A session that will air for you today in the meeting. And that will go for about 23 or 24 minutes. And then we thought we could open the discussion up. And if people have questions, Natalie has asked that they email them through to her on her email address, which is in the chat box in the Zoom. So I'll introduce Natalie and feel free to ask questions after I've aired the recording. So Natalie Ives has a Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood and Primary Teaching with a focus in special needs teaching. Natalie has taught in preschools, primary and special education, and Natalie is also a Dementia Australia Advisory Committee member. Natalie is living with Younger Onset Dementia, and she does freelance work for various universities on projects and committees relating to dementia. Natalie believes that sharing her story as a dementia advocate is key to raising awareness in the understanding of the challenges that she herself has faced, and also to be recognised for the many abilities that she has as a person living with younger onset dementia. And this specific type of younger onset dementia is primary progressive aphasia. And so that leads us to the recording. And because of the communication challenges associated, Natalie has asked that we did a bit of a Q&A session. It was about 2 weeks ago. So please forgive my technology skills in recording and editing and piecing it together for you today. But I will share my screen and play the video, and then we'll open up a discussion. So please bear with me. So if you wouldn't mind just muting your screen, everybody. All right, I'll hit play.
So hello, I'm Natalie. I am a devoted mother of 2 beautiful daughters and 2 beautiful cats. I have a wonderful and supportive family and friends network around me. I love to travel, paint, cook, make time to keep fit, spending time at the beach and roller skating. I have a Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood and Primary Secondary, specialising in special needs teaching. I'm passionate about teaching and guiding children to be confident learners. I first knew something was different with me when I would have trouble finding words to say or think of them. Now, this was different for me as a former educator. I was used to talking academically and writing abstracts with relative ease. I would start to use Google or ask my daughters to help me when I had word blanks. So what is primary progressive aphasia? PPA, as it is commonly known, is a progressive or neurodegenerative condition where the changes or pathology emerge in the language areas of the brain. Language difficulties are the earliest and most prominent symptoms, including things like trouble thinking of words, formulating sentences, spelling or assessing the meaning of spoken or written words. Given that we use language and communication in just about every activity of daily life, impacting social interaction, relationships, ability to continue working, and different activities and life roles. Little things we take for granted, like using the telephone, ordering the coffee, having conversations, reading menus, can become more challenging. With all these symptoms happening, I felt especially alone with the hospital I first attended. When I lost my ability to speak, not knowing my surroundings or the names of my family members. I felt I wasn't being heard or trusted by these people who were supposed to help me. Even if they didn't believe me at the time, some of these doctors definitely needed a course in sympathy and effective communication. I was left with nowhere further to go. I had to search for myself for a solution. Friends of mine with the same condition suggested I contact Dementia Australia and Dementia Alliance International. Because of them, I have found purpose once again in my advocacy work. I have been able to find support I needed through friendships I have built with people like me who have a lived experience of dementia. So what supports do I use? Currently, my healthcare team consists of speech pathologist, occupational therapist, podiatrist, a support worker, a GP, optometrist, and Dementia Australia counsellor, and Dementia Alliance International and Dementia Australia support online Zoom peer groups.
Fabulous.
So what is my passion topic here today? My passion is for my newly formed Hobson Bay Dementia Alliance to collaborate and create new services to support people living with dementia, their carers, family and friends. Although people are able to access NDIS and aged care packages, if successful, what about those people who cannot, for whatever reason, access these services? Sure, they're able to visit their GP and get a care plan for 5 sessions over a year, but as we know, that is not nearly enough to assist a person living with dementia. Another question that should be asked about timely diagnosis and people waiting in limbo pre-diagnosis. Who are also needing crucial supports? Who is helping them? Now, I can tell you from personal experience and that of friends and aged care workers themselves have all shared their concerns and cry for help of the unavailability of adequate supports for people living with dementia alone, let alone people waiting on a diagnosis. Currently in Hobson's Bay, we don't have any social support groups, no dementia cafes. That is of a huge concern for residents living with dementia, their carers, friends and families, and the broader community. Because of these concerning factors, our Alliance is passionate to connect and collaborate with any organisations and providers in the hope for a better quality of life for people living with dementia. So my experience with allied health services. I will start by saying that my speech pathologist has been a godsend to me. A shout out to all the allied health services. Honestly, they have become my support network. One thing I would like people to know is that there are things that help, like speech pathologist services. People don't have to manage alone or start withdrawing from activities important to them. There are lots of creative ways to help people adjust to language changes and find new ways of communicating or getting around the communication challenges. So, NDIS, good, bad and ugly. As I am a new NDIS participant, I can say that I have been one of the lucky ones. I'm fortunate to have been accepted on my first application submission. That being said, the process of filling out the application form is just too long, many questions, and for someone like me living with primary progressive aphasia, to try and attempt to fill it out, to say challenging, is an understatement. I believe that a friendlier, simpler version should be created to assist people After all, NDIS is supposed to be supporting people with disabilities. So I was not able to fill out the application myself. So with the help of my counsellor and GP, I was able to submit my application for consideration. My support coordinator at GenU is fantastic. From day one, she has tried to source out services for me. Although there aren't many services to help me, she herself is concerned at the lack of support for people living with dementia. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Natalie. Are you comfortable if I ask you a couple of additional questions that sprung to mind as you were talking? If you can't think of the answers or you need time to get back to me, that's fine. But I was just thinking, you mentioned living in Hobson's Bay and the local area. There's not many services for people living with younger onset dementia. Are there specific services that you think you would like to attend if they were available? Do you know what that would look like? What types of services or social support would be appealing to you?
Yeah, well, social groups, as we know, to our well-being and mental health, being social is crucial. There isn't anything in Hobson's Bay like that. I actually met a lady who's living with younger onset dementia. Her husband reached out on a Facebook page for Altona Meadows locals, and I met up with them, and they've had to meet different people at the dog park.
Wow.
You know, for them to communicate with people and create friendships.
Yeah.
So they're desperate as well to come on board the Alliance and somehow, you know, try to, I don't have the words, so, you know.
Yeah, just connect, a point of connection.
Yeah, to find
and I think that's something that as service providers, I have a real passion for supporting people with younger onset dementia. And I talk to a lot of providers about, can we collaborate? Can we pool resources from a few different organisations and potentially create a new service or offer something, particularly for people under the age of 65 with any type of dementia? And one difficulty we face is trying to promote and market a service in a way that connects with people who are not already in the aged care space because they're young.
Right. Exactly.
And they may, as you referenced, be with NDIS, or they may not. So do you have any suggestions or advice on whether it's a community centre or a library, or if there is somewhere that people go to try and find information in the general public, or would you always go to an online social media platform like Facebook or Google search or something like that? What's your advice on where to advertise something?
So, of course, those websites, you know, are actual, you know, excellent tools. You know, Dementia Australia, Phasio Association, Dementia Alliance International, they're all important tools. But I'm thinking in terms of my community and what I've experienced. And again, I have to promote my alliance, where I'm thinking and we're wanting to be that focus point, if you like, of a tool for people who are experiencing, you know, again, I don't have the word.
No, isolation, social isolation.
Social isolation, that they can call on the Alliance and we can be a support to them. That's what our passion is. Like you, Elizabeth, you know, to be a platform for them, so they're not feeling alone. I wish I had something like that. Again, I had all these things available to me online, and that's fantastic. You know, it really is. And I'm not dismissing them at all. It's just something tangible, which is in my local community. That is important, that social network.
Yes.
And yeah, so
and thank you. And to make sure I've understood accurately, when you say the alliance, is that Dementia Alliance International, or are you part of a local alliance in addition?
No, so we're a separate, through the Dementia Australia Friendly Communities,
Oh,
we
great.
created Hobson's Bay Dementia Alliance.
Wonderful. Oh, that's excellent. And is that, are there many of those just scattered around in different local government areas? Do you know?
From what we understand, there is one in Ballarat.
Yes.
And then there is one on the other side of Melbourne. I've forgotten the suburb, but it's outer suburbs that there is one. Clearly, or clear enough for me, what I want to say.
Yes. Yeah. No, thank you. I think you did a wonderful job. You were very clear. I think you gave a great overview of your personal journey, some challenges, the fact that you're now successfully with NDIS and your support coordinator is a great support. That's wonderful. So thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like a whole lot of people across the dementia sector to know while we've got the audience?
You know what I'm thinking here? If we could do this at one point somewhere, I would like to invite my Alliance members to speak for themselves, because Norma did her degree in signages around Hobson's Bay. People
Great.
right, so she can speak to that more clearly than I could. Marie did a CLAD, I believe, bachelor degree. She's from a Polish background, so it's around centred around people, you know, in CLAD backgrounds and the lack of communication and, you know, and dementia supports there.
So that's the culturally and linguistically diverse.
Right,
Fabulous.
Yep. So then I'm thinking I would love it if they could, I know one of them would, the other's quite busy, but then again, she can pop in at a certain time, I think 1:30 to 2 o'clock on the lunch breaks.
Yeah,
that would be something around that time if we can work around it. And then that way they can share, I mean, we can share who we are.
Wonderful.
People and promote, you know, what we need to, and they'll be clear about what they have to say. So, you know, and they can speak to that.
Yeah, fabulous. We would love to have all of you. I think that's the beauty of a network like this. We can hold the platform and help promote anything and everything that's positive, that's happening in the dementia space, even highlighting the need for further service and support. So very happy to do that. That'd be great.
So in returning back to my Alliance and just giving a feedback, what do I say to them that Elizabeth said? Elizabeth said that she'll be at the...
Yep, I'll come along to your meeting. So
the Rotary.
maybe... Yep, I can send you all of my details via email perhaps. And then if you could send me the PDF just so that I've got all the information, and then I can share it with our Dementia Knowledge Network and extended networks as well. That'd be great.
It's a ISO, isn't it, Dan? iOS, sorry, PDF. Is that okay?
Yes, fabulous. Right. Wonderful.
I was just making it clear.
No, that's great.
I'll let
Thank you so much.
On board. So
sorry,
Elizabeth. So in terms of funding and supporting the Alliance, we're in the midst of, you know, trying to do that with the ABN numbers and, you know, and different things. Is that something that the Knowledge Net or yourself, Elizabeth, are able to help with, or can you direct a way where we can?
Let me put it out to the group, because I do know across different organisations there are buckets of money that potentially could be, you know, used for collaborative projects and supporting community projects. I don't have a firm answer right now, but that is something that I think, I'm sure, don't hold me to that, but I'm sure, I'm confident that amongst all of the people that we network with, there will be some opportunity or possibility, even if it's something to do with a grant and, you know, us assisting with helping to put a grant application together.
That would be great. That would start us off, you know,
yes.
That would start us off, and then as we build and get, you know what I mean? Fingers crossed, you know, we get more grants and, you know, more interest from the community and the council and all other organisations. So
very happy to help wherever we can.
Fantastic. So I'll let the girls know that we're looking for that we'll be doing a Zoom. So who would the audience be to then, if we're introducing the Alliance then?
So
if it's
Well, the Dementia Knowledge Network is a whole host of people. So it's a lot of health professionals that work in the dementia space. We do have some consumers that often watch a recording that's put up on the YouTube link after the meeting. We've had guest speakers nationally and internationally, and it's a very open and innovative group of people. So I can't really define who will necessarily watch it. Once the recording is released, but we do have a host of people who work in supporting individuals living at home with dementia. That's the primary group. So
people
yeah.
living.
Yeah.
So I'm writing all this down so that I can feedback.
Great. Yes. Yeah. Fabulous. Well, we'll keep the conversation open. Maybe I'll stop the recording there. Thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, Natalie. So hopefully that stopped sharing. Can someone just nod if that's, yep, that worked. You've seen it. Great. Thank you so much, Natalie. I feel like you did a wonderful job of summarising your current situation and also highlighting and promoting the Hobson Bay Dementia Alliance that you have been a pivotal part of forming. And I see that we have Norma here today.
That's right.
Who's also a part of that. And was it Marie? Was that the other lady?
That's right. Yes.
Yes, and Marie. So one of the events that Natalie did reference during our chat was an event coming up on the 18th of April. Now, I believe that's at your local RSL. Is that right, Natalie?
Yes.
And I'm happy to come along to that. Sorry.
No, that's great. No.
And I'm happy to come along to that because I think promotion of, new positive initiatives such as this is really helpful. So whether there's people here who might be interested in also attending that Hobson Bay Dementia Alliance sort of presentation on the 18th of April. It is an evening meeting. Natalie and I have had a few emails back and forth about that. But as I said in the recording, I think there's a whole host of representatives from a huge range of organisations who attend these meetings or watch back the recording. So we might get some interest from people or some experience or expertise in grant writing or somebody who's looking for a dementia-specific initiative to put some money behind, who might be really happy to support. So you never know. The best thing we can do is promote it, share the flyer that I know you've sent to me, Natalie, so I'll share that with the group here today. People may have some questions for Natalie, and Natalie's preference is that we email those through to her. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any comments that they'd like to make from that recording, or if you'd like to have a discussion with those of us who are present that Natalie and Norma can be a part of around the Hobson Bay Dementia Alliance while we've got them both here today. Does anybody have any comments, questions, suggestions?
I'm Suzanne, not my dementia companion. That's where I work. I just wanted to say that was fabulous. And I really think all the councils should have dementia alliances, really. It sounds like it's been fabulous for you, Natalie, and I think it would be great for many people in the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Any other comments or questions for the service provider representatives here?
I suppose I'd just like to say well done as well. That was fantastic, and I just so agree with what you're saying about the NDIS, and I'd be interested in everybody else's thoughts as well about how we can really address the fact that it is so difficult, let alone if you have a physical disability, but also, cognitive disability as well.
I agree with that. Thanks, Michelle. And I think that was something I would have liked to delve more into with you, Natalie, and that could even be a topic on its own that we revisit at some point. Because I know Natalie was saying you're fairly new to accessing NDIS support and funding, aren't you?
That's right. And so before going to my speech therapist to be assessed, and that's how I got to be on the NDIS through that assessment. before that, basically, I was, again, left in limbo. And I believe that nobody should be left to feel stressed in that way. You know, that there needs to be some pathway into supports leading into pre-diagnosis and that timely diagnosis, whether it be counselling, I don't know, anything through the allied health services or in the local community. Just that starting platform, you know, that I have someone supporting me and I don't have to feel stressed. You know, that often is quite enough, you know, for the beginning, I feel, in my personal opinion. I was just wondering how other people feel, or if there's anything else that you may be able to add to that.
Thanks, Natalie. Does anyone else have any insight? Wendy?
Hi. Thanks, Natalie. That was a wonderful presentation, and well done for getting through to NDIS on the first application. That is amazing. It's sadly not a story that is uncommon with the people that we speak to with younger onset dementia, and it is something that we try and address through our post-diagnostic support program and the Living with Dementia program for people with younger onset. So it is something that we are well aware of, and that we try and provide that level of extra support for people around the NDIS, because it is such a difficult process. Well done.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. So could I ask you, Wendy, so if I understood right, is that post-diagnosis that you were referring to? Do you have any thoughts on pre-diagnosis?
No. Rachel, I don't know if you have anything, but that's not something that we would get involved with.
Yeah. The MCI new program commencing soon, which is more about information on mild cognitive impairment. The issue with NDIS is that to get NDIS, you need to have a diagnosis.
Yes.
So that's where it becomes a difficulty in pre-diagnosis, is the support, because you have to have that to get, which is where it becomes difficult. So, or even more difficult, I should say. Yeah.
Thank you there, Rachel. It was just more around the idea, do you have any ideas separate to the NDIS, you know, other pathways we could? No. Okay, thank you.
I mentioned the only other one, Natalie, that I know of is what you mentioned in your talk about GPs and getting allied health support from there. Yeah, because unfortunately it's so expensive if you don't have that. The option of private is not one that many people can afford. So the GP care plan is not, I just said it's only 5, and it's only for one type of allied health as well. So don't know any other options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Michelle. Sorry, Natalie. Michelle's got her hand up as well. If she could just add a comment to that.
I was just going to say, I think what you're bringing up, and I hadn't actually thought about it, but that kind of stress about waiting for a diagnosis, because some people do wait so long, and it's an incredibly stressful time. And I guess there are also the mental health plans through GPs for psychologists that could provide counselling, you know, before a diagnosis. That was my only other thought.
Yeah. Well, that's right, Michelle. And as we know, they can stretch it out a little bit more for that care plan, as far as I understand. But again, it depends. It's person-centred, isn't it? It's not one box fits all. So, yeah, which I'm just trying to work around that area, what we can do for pre-diagnosis. And any ideas, you know, would be helpful. But thank you so much.
In our last Living with Dementia Younger Onset that I was involved in, we had a couple of people that were all trying for application through NDIS, and one couple in particular had to pay privately for speech and OT to then get the letters to send to NDIS to put in the application. So it was a great cost for them, but it turned out successfully. But not everyone has that ability to be able to pay for those you know, assessments, which can work out to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So
exactly. So that's why, you know, we have to think about those people who aren't able to afford, you know, and what's life going to look like for them? What are they going to go through? It's stressful enough having all these symptoms, what's going on, and then not having the assistance or help, you know, or enough of it for the person themselves. So
definitely.
Yeah. And that is a common, sadly, experience that we hear quite often, particularly, with people trying to be diagnosed with a younger onset dementia. It's a real gap, and it is a very challenging one to address, because even during our recorded chat, Natalie, we've tried, Sarah and I and a few different organisations have tried to promote some new services around social support and younger onset dementia and carer support. But it's really difficult to even know where to market and promote that type of service, because, people aren't linked in with aged care, and they aren't linked in with NDIS necessarily as yet, when they might be interested in connecting with other people. So it's a very tricky one. Yeah. Michelle, did you have another comment on that?
I think some of you know I'm trying to do a research project on access to allied health for people with dementia, and we've had some really great co-design meetings, workshops so far. And one of the suggestions was that at the moment GPs have a health pathway for dementia, but it's not local. They don't really know where to kind of send people. And I think it was Northern Rivers up in New South Wales has a local booklet of, where people can be referred to for different things. And so that would be through the primary health networks that GPs could access, but then people with dementia online could access. It might be promoted through health organisations. And I just wondered what people thought about some kind of local booklet. It would obviously have to be updated regularly to kind of promote these kind of things so people could find it.
Sorry, go, Natalie.
No, that's okay. Please, Elizabeth, go ahead.
I was just going to mention recently both Sarah Yates from Caledonia and I were asked to be involved in a consultation meeting with a few of the local primary health network representatives. So they had some funding and they were trying to put together a little bit of a, service navigation pathway for GPs. Again, it was quite interesting because it had a very clinical focus in that focus group meeting. And Sarah and I have much more of a sort of social and, meeting people at the point of entry kind of lens, I guess. So less of the medical model and more of that sort of social connection, carer support, social activity programs, funding, either in the home or care recipient retreats, that type of thing. So it was quite an interesting discussion. And I think that is still in some stage of development, but I'll certainly, and Sarah and I together potentially could update this group when we have a final outcome from that. But I think, as you say, Michelle, how fabulous to at least have a starting point. That does obviously need that constant update, but it might also be something that could be used in conjunction with My Dementia Companion, which Suzanne is here today as a representative of that organisation. So I think Nan and or Suzanne are going to do a presentation next month, I believe. Is that right, Suzanne, at our Dementia Knowledge Network?
Nan's away at the moment, so he could have anything planned, and hopefully that is the case. But definitely, we have quite a lot of interest from primary health networks, and that makes perfect sense to have the starting point of an alliance or something or information to the public in those regions, because they're regional. They're always regional. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you in a month's time. Dan will probably do that presentation.
Yes, I believe we've booked him in, but I won't confirm it until I've confirmed with him. But that is my understanding. That's the April meeting. So
I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any comments or feedback or suggestions, anything around younger onset dementia? Or can you all access that email address in the chat if you have questions specifically for Natalie? And you can write them down and email them through to Natalie to give her time to get back to you.
And Elizabeth, I just wanted to say in regards to support groups within Hobson's Bay, that's something that, again, to repeat, that our alliance would like to, start something up like that so that people, that are I guess, waiting for that diagnosis can approach us, you know, and we can be there to support them in the best way that we're able to. That would be fantastic, you know, to have something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just wanted to formally acknowledge and thank Natalie for her time and thinking outside the box in how we could have you as a guest presenter today. And thank you again for your time in pre-recording that chat. I think it was all, you know, very interesting and a lot of insightful information that we can all take on board and hopefully, you know, work together to try and meet some of those gaps and improve the situation for people living with younger onset dementia. Michelle, did you have your hand up again, or was that from earlier?
That was a clap.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. If nobody has anything else to add, we might close the meeting early.
Well done, Natalie.
Okay,
thanks
you,
so
Norma.
much. Thanks, Norma. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Very impressive.